And we're live.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hello. My Name ist Ian. You're listening to the third episode un deux trois of the Lingaholics podcast. Glad you're listening in from whichever podcatcher, or maybe only catching us on the YouTubes. That's me just starting off the show. Doing some Mr. Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, Espanol, Ingles, Miami, Cuba. Because we are all pumped. It's been one hell of a weekend. It's been awesome. So sticking with the worldwide, on the World Wide Webs this weekend, the 2020 Polyglot Gathering went down, and it was just incredible. Maybe some listeners have been to the live event. Lots of people. It was the first time. So this episode, the Lingaholics podcast, I want to dive in deep. And who better to do it with than my fellow podcasters and my fellow participants at this weekend's Polyglot Gathering Online. So primero hoy vamos, let's go to mon ami, mec, Markus. Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
What's going on, folks? What's going on, folks? So I want to go ahead and say that during the last podcast, I said that I wasn't going to participate in this thing. I was like, I'm not going to stay up all night to watch all these talks. I'm not doing this. But I got really excited the day before the conference started. I got really excited. So I ended up paying the late fee to register. Oh, yeah. It's 40 euros or whatever. Not a big deal. But I got really excited about it. And so I participated 100%. I've been staying up all night.
Got up early.
Yeah, got up pretty early. We're on a
Really
we're on a pretty interesting sleeping schedule here, Ian and I right now. Cody has been playing at softball, which is not a big deal. That's fine. But I gotta say, folks, these polyglot conferences are really, really interesting. And boy, oh boy, can I imagine how fun it is to participate in person. That's got to be so fun. So with that being said, I had a really good time. I was very impressed by a lot of the talks. A lot of that, we had some pretty good hangout sessions. Pretty good hangout sessions on Zoom. The after hours, man. That was pretty good. I got to say, I really enjoyed it. So I guess with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to Cody. What do you think, bud?
Yeah, I had a great time for the hours that were reasonable. So like these guys mentioned, they were up at the stupid hours of the morning, attending all these talks and stuff like that. And I was excited about this, but I wasn't so excited that I was willing to completely screw up my sleep schedule. But I had a really good time at all the talks and the chat rooms that we had after the talks ended. So it was a solid weekend overall for sure.
Dude, it's not like you really missed anything, because the way they did it this year on the platform, they're all recorded. You can watch it on the site till the end of June.
Yeah, so you guys are just crazy.
Yeah, but you know what I was thinking?
We were just wanting to be there live.
Yes, exactly. You wanted to have that live feeling, right? Yes. You wanted to feel like you were experiencing this with everybody else. And one of the cool things that I really appreciated, one of the details, is that you could see how many participants were in each group or were at each presentation.
Yeah.
And then they had like the chat as well, which was really cool. Yeah, below the chat. So that was really cool. So people were like, I remember this morning at 2 or at 3 a.m., a bunch of people in North America were like, "Hey, who's up here from North America? Who's
yes. 2 a.m.
Yes.
Let's go.
Who's here from the Pacific time zone?" And then some person from Nanaimo, British Columbia, some person from Oregon. Shout out. I was like, "Yeah, Alberto's here, hanging out."
Represent.
So that was really cool.
We should probably mention why it was at stupid hours of the morning for us. And that's because the Polyglot Gathering was supposed to occur this year in Poland. Is that right, Ian?
Correct. I'm still saying it wrong. Terracin? That's not right. I don't know how to say it. Warsaw. And yeah, this year it was a unique location too, from my understanding. It was kind of like a retreat-ish type of location. I have to talk to some friends that were actually planning physically to go, but they didn't end up going, obviously. But yeah, so it was still based in Europe, like the time zone. And I using that UTC time zone,
which is weird, by the way.
Right, you gotta do a bit of math because like Poland's
no, but
8 hours ahead.
When you do international time like that, you usually do GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, right? The UTC to me was weird.
Okay, it made sense. Say we're like UTC -6 here in Berta.
Yeah, but I always say that we're in GMT -7 here. That's usually like what I don't know.
Just
whatever,
like languages, man, changing it up a little.
Yeah.
So yes, that's why it was based on European time, because I still believe most of the presenters and most of the participants are European, right? So really for us, it was those like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. are like the extreme hours, because you can get up still 6 a.m. watch stuff. But yeah, man, we went out, talk about, Marcus, do you want to talk about your sleep pattern?
Sure, man.
Because of this. So this wasn't happening till you did this.
So we've been partaking in intermittent sleeping for the past 48 hours, more commonly referred to as polyphasic sleeping patterns. So I've slept over the past 48 hours. I've slept 12 hours.
Okay.
In 2-hour intervals. So I've been sleeping 2 hours, then I've been up for a little bit, and then I sleep another 2 hours, and then I'm up for a little bit, and then I sleep another 2 hours. So for the past 24 hours, I slept 6 hours. And I gotta say, guys, I feel remarkably well. I feel great. Like I'm productive as well. Like I went to bed at 2 p.m. today, woke up at 4, got up. I wrote an entire research proposal. Granted, it was only like one to 2 pages, but still I read through and I was like, wow, this is pretty good. Like, and I don't know, I just feel great overall. So this is definitely this is not sustainable. I'm probably gonna get a good night's sleep today. I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably gonna get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
But for sure, for the future, if I'm cramming, if I'm trying to get something done, I'm definitely gonna be considering doing this again. Because it's productive, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you get those extra, like it's just 2 hours, right? But then boom, you get right back at it, whatever you're doing.
That's right.
So, but no, man, before this started, so Friday wasn't too bad. It started at 7 a.m. on Friday for us. But Thursday night, like, I think I was texting you guys how, like, this was like Christmas for me. Because, yeah, I wasn't able to go into Poland and everything, but now that I was able to do this online, like, I was so stoked. I'd been 3 years ago in Bratislava, and it's like, like this, I'll get to recapture somewhat of this. So yeah, like Christmas now, all those holidays, it's mainly because I have nieces.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, they're excited about that stuff. But this now, when you're an adult, you can still kind of like get those glimmers of what you felt like as a kid during those days. 'Cause I was so excited. And I just remember hopping on Friday morning. It was the Esperanto talk. I think that was the very first one.
Oh boy.
Next to you. And then I think I did an hour of Ukrainian after, knocking the rust off of the old Ukrainian. And then I think the official talks, the opening happened. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of Esperanto? How much did you
that's an interesting
heard
one.
or known about it beforehand?
I don't know, Cody, did you watch that one?
No.
The Esperanto one? So do you know the premise?
Yeah, I know what Esperanto is, but I've never dabbled into it. I'm not a dabbler like you guys.
Yeah, we can get into that later. But first of all, what's the origin? Do you know, Ian? What's the origin of Esperanto?
Oh, okay. It was quoted throughout the founder of the language, Ludwig. It's a Google search away, Ludwig something or other. If you're a hardcore Esperantist, you know his name. He has that famous quote, like my limits of my knowledge or the limits of my world is a big quote. I saw that in like 3 or 4 presentations. And so like that first one that they showed, that was the crash course in Esperanto. And so it was originally like, oh, there's so many better people to explain what it is, but just an idealistic international language. It was never anybody giving up their mother tongue or any other tongues. It would be a second language for all. And it was earlier in the 20th century. And that was a really big idealistic goal. And okay, obviously that didn't come to pass in the 20th century, but it still has this very, very unique community that I keep re-encountering every time I go to these events.
So I'm going to pause you there for Ian. I'm going to pause you there real quick. So just some fact checking, because I actually pulled this up. So it was actually Esperanto was actually created in the 19th century.
Sorry, it goes back. Sorry,
1887.
Correct.
It's considered a constructed international auxiliary language. It's an auxiliary language.
So that's what I mean by nobody giving up their mother tongue.
And
like Esperanto's not.
And it was created by a Polish guy called L.L. Zamenhof.
Ludwig Zamenhof. I think one of those L's is Ludwig, if I'm correct.
Anyways, so do you want to just go through how the language is structured and organized?
I don't know a ton about that still, to be honest. Like what did you pick up from the fact? I'm more interested in the community of it, like the social aspect.
No, I thought it was interesting how the technicalities of it. So I don't know if I can explain it now on the pod, but it's basically
just give some
so you have an object that's not necessarily related to a verb or a noun or anything. It's just like an object. So for example, person is a noun, I guess. But then you can add different suffixes and prefixes to change the wording or change the meaning of that word. So for example, if you add, let's see, I think it's one of these ig, ig, or ill to sun. So sun means health, right? Health. Mm-hmm. That's S-A-N, the sun. And then if you add one,
Sante, right? Like,
yes, Sante. So it's related to these romantic languages. Romance languages.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I might be totally out to lunch on this. But I read somewhere that Esperanto is supposed to be like a hybrid between English, French, and Spanish.
I think no. I just think
there's German, bit of Slavic influences.
They steal stems from words, so they steal. Mm-hmm. So san, for example, that's from sano, right? So health, that means health. But then if you add different suffixes to that word, you change the meaning. So medicine would be resanigilo.
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 And then there's so many. Right, so that's one.
You add re and then you add igilo, and that means medicine. So and those prefixes mean like object, object, person, whatever. Like you get it. So an object that helps your health to improve, I guess.
Correct.
That makes sense.
Then even things like this is my scant knowledge from the Duolingo course, like vir, man, virino, woman. So just adding the ending with that. And then something like bona, and then for good, malbona, bad, grande, granda, malgranda. Like very, like you said, just concise and consistent with the language. Like I think there's very few, if any, irregularities. Like it's definitely something I want to look into. And yes, there's the whole idealistic philosophical side of Esperanto, which that is what it is. But I've heard that if you want to introduce people to second language learning, Esperanto, despite maybe someone's never heard of it or thinks it's very interesting or anything, just the way it's constructed, like the example you just gave, that learning, I don't know, Esperanto for 2 to 3 weeks before you jump into your first second language might just give you, it's easier and it's consistent and logical, and then it makes it a little easier path to get into other languages. It's a theory. Obviously, I never did this before I learned Spanish, my first second language, but I found it was an interesting theory just based on how it being an easier language. So I know Benny Lewis from the Fluent in 3 Months blog, he's talked about that before. So I don't know what you guys think. Like that's one use of it.
The proponents of this say that, or they they say that it's very easy, or Esperanto opens up new doors or new ways of expressing oneself. You can express yourself in ways that you can't with other languages, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And also from a geopolitical point of view, a lot of people advocate for everyone learning this as a second language because it's really easy to learn because the grammar is so incredibly easy.
You know what? I really love the idea of having like an objective international language, but like I don't see that actually coming to fruition.
Right. Like there's whole geopolitical realities and all that. And that's why that idealistic side to me is not appealing. To me, interested you guys thinking like, say, to learn this, because there's Esperantists all around the globe. Like I don't think any continents, like everywhere you go, you can find Esperantists, and how this community, getting in touch with them, it's kind of like it can be like a couch surfing network. If you learned it and spoke it, you can get lodgings and meeting people around the globe with it. Like to me, it's still like, yes, not everyone in the world speaking it, whatever, throw that out the window perhaps, but I think just the people that are really into this still, I think that's a cool community around the world. I don't know what you guys think. Like if you learned it, then go travel the world with it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Plus, absolutely. I can imagine if you're out traveling and you meet someone that speaks Esperanto, it's like, whoa, hermano, vamos.
Esperanto.
Yeah, so it's all about languages. Is all about connecting with people, right? That's why we like it. That's why I like it. So that's just another way of doing that.
And then specifically, I keep learning the history of these polyglot gathering events too. They actually, Petro, the guy who gave the opening and closing remarks, talked about how these events actually spawned from earlier Esperanto gatherings, so to speak, like Esperanto meetups, like this conference of. By the way, there's 1,000 people this weekend, that's made it like.
That's insane.
Wow, it's just soaking up the energy all weekend with it. But yeah, you got to give a doff of the hat kudos to these Esperantists that have really, these gatherings for them have, since 2014, the first polyglot gatherings are happening in Berlin. So that's fairly recent. Like if you think of just internet age and all this, like how people have been meeting physically and now online forums, sites. There's Langfest, there's Polyglot Conference. Like it's really grown since I've gotten into this.
Guys, how humbling is it to be around people that are so much better than you at
oh, dude.
Yeah, no kidding, hey?
Oh, man. That's the reason for going.
Like we think we're good at this, but no es.
No way. No.
Like in that one talk, I think it was the neuroscience talk where they said they did that study about 20 polyglots, and they were like listing all the languages that all these polyglots spoke, and like there was 2 of them that had like 30 or 40 languages listed. I was just like,
yeah, that's insane. But I kind of get Richard Simcott. He's like, you know what? I don't care. Like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to put up all the flags next to my name for all the languages that I speak. Like, this is just, I'm just going to come off as some pretentious douchebag if I do that, right?
Yeah, no. We'll talk about, I have my good friend Josh. You guys met him on Zoom.
Yeah.
I want to bring on the pod. He does, I can't say I've met really anybody like this. They're called snobby glots, where you're just like, ooh, I speak blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you don't want to be like that.
I don't, in this community, okay, maybe here and there, like, but overall, vast majority, it's just, everyone's just, they have that level of languages, man, whether it's 30 or 40 or the one you're toiling away on in your like hour of free time a day, and you're just like, oh, I'm really into this. And then you just see what other people are doing from all ends of the spectrum. So, but yeah, do you want to get, I like Richard, he's always the big speaker at these events.
He's amazing, by the way. Shout out to Richard. Amazing guy.
Simcott and
what a communicator, honestly. Like just the way he speaks, like even English, man. You know?
Well, he's from like, but
the way he speaks English, he's
correct.
Such a storyteller.
He's a great public speaker. Yes.
Fantastic.
And I like these like old days stories too, when he's talking about like these blogs, right? Like you think of these communities, any community, right? Like back in the day, like punk forums and whatever your thing was, like for me at least, like talking about language forums. Like, what was that even on? Like GeoCities back in, you guys remember Geos? Am I that old?
I don't know what that is. No.
I remember Habbo Hotel.
Dude.
Oh,
okay. There's GeoCities.
I know what that is, but that's a while ago, bro.
GeoCities and Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves was like pre-Google. Was.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that old.
31. But anyways, when he's talking about this, okay, that was like the old forums and like talking to those people, and then just how it grew and grew, and like the gurus kind of on the forums that you'd go to for advice, and then how he kind of came full circle with, it was such a big deal to be investigating, oh, when do you exactly speak a language, and like all the differing opinions,
which I, by the way, don't like to talk about.
Okay, but
I don't like people that are like, oh, what level are you? Like, oh, what do you have? Like, are you B1, B2, whatever? Like, I do not like that. So if you're listening to this,
no,
I don't care. Don't tell me what level you are.
You know what though? I think it's unavoidable though. When you're learning languages, like it's just simply a question you're gonna get asked. It's similar to like when you meet anyone new, just anyone. Like they're going to ask you what you do for work.
But you know what I say? Oh, wait, what do you mean by work?
Like, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, like when you meet someone, like an inevitable question that someone's going to ask you is, "What do you do for work?"
No, I mean like certificates, like language certificates. Like, what level are you? How well do you speak a language? And I really like what Richard Simca said. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to judge myself. I'm going to let the other person judge me and tell me how well I speak this language.
Right. And I think that's a nice bar too. Like, let the local tell you. Let the native speaker. That's not into all the
like, honestly,
nerdery C1 versus C2.
All that stuff. I don't.
And then this is what I found fascinating because this is cultural as well. If you want to talk about like who's that local telling you, right? And Cody, I wanted to bring up you in China, how you said like if you're in China, and Richard mentioned this in his talk as well. If you live in China, like would that be it? To just get like a sweet boost, be like ni hao, what jiao, Ian. Is that all it would take?
That's exactly the way he said it in that talk is exactly how it went almost every single time. Right. So let's say you're going into like a convenience store and you're just gonna you're gonna buy a bottle of water or a drink or something, and you walk up to go buy it and you just say ni hao. And then what Richard said today is exactly the response that they would say every time. They would say, oh, 你中文说得这么好. And that basically means like, oh wow, like your Chinese is so good.
Right. So like little things like that, right? That'd be like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And obviously the more you do, the more the impressed they'd be, right? Like the low bar of that.
Yeah.
Is that Cody? Is that annoying or is it just funny? Because to me, it just sounds funny.
It honestly, for me, it depended on the day. Like some days I would just think it was hilarious, and other days I would be like, "Oh my god!" Like just come on, people. I just said hi. Like
my self-esteem isn't that low.
Yeah.
Be pumping my tires. Yeah, I don't like because when I taught ESL in Edmonton, I had lots of Mexican students. And I get invited to the Mexican fiestas, and like you just go and you're talking like, oh, you speak Spanish. Sometimes it just comes off as a nice, pleasant surprise to people too. Like it's like for that particular community, I think Latinos are pretty nice in general, but it wasn't even a matter of commenting like how good or like because they oh cool, you speak to a certain level, and then you're obviously not native, but we're gonna like as we start talking about things, we can explain things. Like there's so much like cultural like slang header that comes up.
Yeah.
You're just like at a Mexican party, like, oh, like what's that stuff you'll never learn in your
That's what I'm saying. You know, and that's why I'm such a big proponent for learning languages in the field, so to speak. Instead of
linguist.
Instead of in the classroom, because that's the way you actually learn how to use it. Even though the classroom is required sometimes.
Oh, Yeah, no, for sure. It's just, I think like what Richard's talk is like, why so much focus, why so much obsession on this question when he was just giving, like when he turned around giving, like I thought it was fascinating. He brought up the one lady who uses her languages in refugee zones as a translator, and like using her language for like really critical jobs, or like a critical task, right? Like it's not a matter of being like or whatever. She's like getting stuff done on the ground, making stuff happen with her language skills. I'm just like, that's something being like.
So can you guys relate to fluency islands?
There's a few metaphors like that.
So
like Richard's talk and Lydia.
I can personally strongly relate to that.
Okay.
So for example, try to talk about science and engineering with me in Swedish. Not gonna happen. It's gonna be very hard for me.
Okay.
For example, does that make sense?
What do you mean science and Swedish?
So science and engineering.
Science.
Yeah, science and engineering. Try talking about science and engineering with me in Swedish. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna go too well.
Gotcha.
But I mean, like things as well. Like sometimes I think I'm so good at Spanish. Like if I'm talking to someone very colloquially, and whatever, we're talking about a specific subject that I've talked about before, I think I'm really good at Spanish. But then if we're talking about something completely different, I stumble upon words. I can't figure out the right way to say it. I lose words. I'm kind of a noob.
yeah, right. It's like your domain.
For sure.
Dude, that happens in English. Like I got buddies, speaking of guys that, like my buddies up in Fort Mac, that they do these crazy sleep shift changes all the time too. Like after doing this for 1 week, I don't know how they do it. But yeah, when they're talking about some in-depth power engineering thing in English, I'm just like, no entiendo.
Yeah, but that's because you don't know the jargon.
It's not my domain. It's not my jargon.
That's not because you know that you don't know the jargon. It's because you don't know the jargon. But even if I knew the jargon in Swedish, it's like I just never done that. I've never talked to anyone about what I like, all these topics and Swiss. Like it'd be really difficult for me to do, because I'd have to figure out how to construct sentences and arguments in a completely other language. Granted, science is pretty easy to translate because everything is quite literally the same.
Right. Super common, right?
Yeah, super common
languages. So there's an upside.
Yes.
To it.
But you know what? I think for me personally, that's I think it's pretty comforting when you hear a topic like in your native language, and you hear people talking, you have no idea what's happening. And because like that makes you think like, oh, okay, like there's even stuff in my native language that I don't know. So if you're getting frustrated that you don't know something in your target language, like it's not as much of a big deal, you know? And another way I can relate to this is like, it's when you're listening to songs too. Like if you're listening to a song in your target language, you're like, oh my God, like I don't understand anything. And then sometimes you can go to a song in English and you still won't understand a damn thing.
Correct. Yeah, it's still like flurries.
Talking in like ridiculous manners or whatever. So for me, that's like kind of comforting to have that knowledge.
Yeah, it's like Semcott said, right? Like try explaining nuclear magnetic resonance to someone in English. I think I could do a decent job at it personally, but
okay, yeah, sure.
Because I've actually worked with that type of instrumentation, but whatever. Yo, guys, so do you guys want to shift gears?
Sure. Yeah. What are you thinking?
You guys remember Lydia's talk?
Dude, if no one's gonna come with anything, I was just gonna say Lydia's.
So I'm going through the program now with all my notes. So that's why we're at Lydia's talk.
That's yo también. Para los online listeners, I have 9 pages. I'm like, all right, let's bust out the highlighter before the pod.
So what I took away from this talk primarily, so I love the metaphors. The cool thing about language learning is that there's so many metaphors.
There's a lot of analogies, beaches.
All the analogies, right? So she also had an island metaphor. What's with all these island metaphors in language learning? But you remember, Cody, you watched Lydia's talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cody was there.
So first of all, Lydia. Who's Lydia?
Lydia, she is from Slovakia. I met her in Bratislava because she was the main organizer in Bratislava. She was super awesome. Like, there's 500 people at that event. She was like the hostess, right? Going around, hey guys, how's it going? Like, she was on her feet constantly. So that's when I met her in person. And then it's been super cool. She's since then did a TED Talk. She's spoken at other events. She's more and more YouTube coming out. And I really like her approach. It's pretty sane. She takes on one language every 2 years, which that's very sane.
That's
Like,
the
I wish
approach
I was
that I
that.
take.
I wish okay, yeah, right.
She's kind of a big deal.
I'm
folks.
not.
She's kind of a big
Yeah,
deal.
no, it's great. And so she's in this community of polyglot personalities. It's been really cool to see her rise up. And yeah, so that's what I've met her and seen her now on the YouTubes and the internets. So, and yeah, so what was the name of her talk? 9 practical lessons?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Like,
Well,
I
so
really like.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, I just like how she related to like languages being like chapters of your life.
Yeah.
Big thing I took away.
Yeah, but I really liked, so I like the island metaphor.
Okay.
You guys remember that one?
Yes, yeah, let's talk about it, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Cody, do you remember it?
Yeah, man.
Could you recount it for us?
Okay, so basically the idea is when you start learning a language, you are on this island in the middle of nowhere. And
Castaway.
yeah, just like Castaway.
Yeah, you're Tom Hanks.
Wilson.
So you start swimming away from the island. That's when you first start learning the language. And if you if you're just starting out, and if you just like kind of lay back, you're just going to get dragged back to the island. Like, the waves are just going to pull you back. But you'll eventually get to a certain point where you get past the gravity waves, I guess you could call them, that end up pulling you back.
The breaks. I guess you can say
Yeah.
the breaks. For all you surfers out there, you got to get over the breaks.
Mm-hmm. So you get to a point where you're free from being trapped on the island. And with language learning, there's eventually a point you get to where you won't be able to just forget the language if you don't use it very often.
Yeah, once you get over the last break, then you're on free waters, on open waters, and then it's much easier to stay afloat or to not be washed back into the island.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're halfway out, you're trying to get over the break, and then you stop swimming, you're gonna get washed up on shore again.
Yeah,
that's the idea. So let's say I'm learning French now, and then I don't use French for a couple of years. I'm definitely not over the last break, so I'm just gonna wash back up on that shore, and that's where you gotta keep swimming.
Are you gonna wash back all the way up back?
So here's what I would add to that metaphor personally.
Okay.
When you try to swim out the second time, you're gonna be a lot stronger.
For sure.
absolutely.
Resistance training, right?
You got a hell of a workout trying to swim out.
It's like wearing a weighted vest. Just giving her.
Well, you're just stronger because you've been working out.
Stronger. Exactly.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Hey.
Yeah. It's an interesting matter. You just keep going at it. And I find I have breakthroughs with my pronunciations. I have breakthroughs with my vocabulary recall. I have breakthroughs. And it's just because, all right, I don't remember it. The wave pushed me back. Let's go through it again. Be it. Talk about these strategies.
From my experience, so I learned German when I was in school. And then I took a hiatus for many years. And I, like, if you were to try to speak German with me a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been able to form a sentence. But when I picked it back up again, like last year, it went really fast. Really fast.
Right. Yeah, because you've heard that phrase "false beginner" as well.
Yeah,
I've always liked that one.
Yeah,
it's like you're not. I don't feel like you can ever go back. If you learned it super well, you'll never go back to.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. I had the exact same experience with French because when I was in middle school, I took I took French as an option. But I didn't really learn much. But then when I went to this, so I've had 3 waves of French actually. Because when I went to university, I started. I took I think two French classes, and there were certain words and grammar structures and whatever that I learned that I remembered from middle school that helped me in my university learning. And then I stopped for like probably 4 or 5 years. And then this year, again, I just recently started taking up French again. And so I had like those 2 foundations that I had already built. So when I started learning French again, like it just went, yeah, like my progress has been really fast and I was able to pick it up again like super quickly.
SOS. SOS.
Right? It's like your you still have remnants of the raft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. You have remnants of the raft. Your arms are jacked.
Still going out there. Like, dude, I'll give you a super recent example.
Ready to go, yeah.
Like this weekend.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, I'll give like an example. Like I hit a couple hours in Ukrainian chat rooms, it was cool because it wasn't super busy like some of the other ones.
Ukraine.
It was probably like Ukraine, jak sprawy. Yeah, so it was great because with Ukrainian speakers, for me, it's still like really hit or miss with the speakers. Some people I'm just like deer in the headlights still, and other people I'm like, wow, I'm understanding like a ton. But yeah, because it's been a bit of a lull. It's been like, and then tying us back to, because Ukrainian now is 3 years ago, it was like a big deal for me. When I get my buddy Lee on the pod, we'll talk about like when I had my time there. But this really, like that was a life chapter back then. And Ukrainian's just been on the sideline, just sitting there. Like I still listen to music here and there, but the waves definitely have pushed me back. I noticed that. Like, but it was super fun just to be like riffing in the chat rooms with some Ukrainian speakers and like stuff coming back, right? So it's like, like to get that raft up and going again, it's super fun. But it's just like these life, yes, her island metaphor, great for the learning. But what I found the most profound about her, like she got personal too, right? With her French story and the breakup she had.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone can relate to
it.
This.
Happens, folks. It happens.
No, but I'm just talking about if you've been doing this a long time, 10 years, and you've dabbled, learned different languages, certain ones resonate with certain time periods in your life. And because if you're not keeping them going the whole time, yeah, like Ukrainian for me is like a big phase I look back on now.
So is it like when you hear it again, that brings you back?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Dude, exactly. Like I get in Ukraine, like, oh man, I remember like just being in the library, plowing through stuff, and it was fun this week to talk about Slavic languages and like the cases in Slavic languages and be like, oh my god, remember when like the cases were like so incomprehensible, but then you got over that wave, right? And you were going,
yeah,
and then now it's like, oh, it's fun because you got back into it again, like that false beginner, right? You'd just it'd be clicking. But yes, like it brings back super fond memories being at the Polyglot Gathering while we're on this topic, because I was at the Polyglot Gathering in Bratislava, then I went to Krakow for a couple days, and then I went to Lviv and met my Ukrainian relatives there who only spoke Ukrainian.
No mamas.
Yeah, man. So then that's when my buddy Lee was there with me. So when Lee's on the pod, we'll get into all the adventures we have.
Cool. Can't wait.
It's just like, we're just like, oh, like it just, yes, when you're speaking it does. Maybe it's like hearing an old song, right? Like I hear punk music now because I don't listen to it as much, but like it brings you back, like memory lane.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So
that's super interesting, man.
And that's what she like, and then like she talked about like emotional states, like maybe I'm just not in the right emotional place to.
Yeah, that's a big thing
like,
too.
A lot of people think it's my strategies, it's what I'm doing.
No, it's not that. It's emotional.
It might be what's going on in your life.
Yeah, and it's motivation. So when I started learning French, I just woke up one morning, and I remember texting you guys and being like, "Okay, guys, in 5 weeks, I'm gonna be able to speak French. I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna start today. I'm gonna do it. I'm super pumped. I'm stoked." So it was just, I woke up one day and I had the motivation there, and I just kept at it.
Mm-hmm. What was motivating you? Like, what was your fuel?
I don't know. It was, I think, I don't even remember. It was probably something that triggered me. It was probably like a YouTube video I watched or maybe
For
just
sure.
listening to you guys talk. I don't know.
Oh,
But it was something
yeah.
it just hit me. I was like, okay, I need to do this. Like I want to do this. I have to do this. And so I just got really pumped up about things. It was kind of like when I registered, when I told you guys that I was going to participate in the conference. I just got really excited about it.
Yeah.
But I get these
Dude,
periods.
yeah, man. I was like, 'cause I just remember sending you that pic. Being
Yeah.
like, dude, look at these language rooms. And then next thing you know, you guys.
So that's the thing about
Let's
me.
go.
That's the thing about me personally. I get these impulses of extreme motivation.
It's
And then
good.
I get these periods of extreme motivation, and then I keep at it for a little bit. That sustains itself for I don't know how long, not that long. But then after a while, that goes away, and then I just have to rely on my discipline to keep it up.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if we talked about this already, but like the whole idea of like motivation and discipline, because like so many people think that not just with languages, but like just any kind of like goals that you have or any kind of thing that you want to do with your life that requires work. So many people think like you just need motivation, and like yeah, sure, you need motivation, but if you don't have discipline, like you're gonna fail, like you're gonna give up because motivation is not sustainable, but discipline is certainly sustainable, and that's gonna be your safety net, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And there was a great talk. Was it today or yesterday? These hours are still kind of messing with me. Like what the talk was, but it was a lot about. It was two people speaking. It was basically about life management doing this. Because yes, you're right, Kodo. Like the motivation is, yeah, I want to learn this. Me, when I ended the last episode of the podcast, like my German motivation for me, it's going to teach in Germany in about 3 or 4 years on the Alberta auf Deutsch. And so yeah, there's the motivation. Okay, it's there. I can go tell the whole world that. But how are you going to like implement it? And there, the one talk today, just everyone has 24 hours, right? Nobody gets. It's not like Cody gets 28 hours, Marcus gets 20, and I get 24. We all have 24 hours per day. Marcus, maybe even more with your new sleep schedule.
With the polyphasic sleep schedule.
Polyphasic sleep, maybe
intermittent sleeping.
Like 18,
that's the new trend.
Yeah. So I thought that was great. Like, hey, we all get the finite amount of time here, and like, how do we chunk it out? How do we manage this? How do we schedule it? And I think that's a lot of discipline. Like Cody, you sent us that. I thought it was pretty good.
Wait,
but
what are you talking about?
That schedule. Remember, Cody sent us a schedule a few weeks ago, like when you were working on like you're like 9 a.m.
Oh,
9:30.
Yeah.
Like even that. Like,
yeah, that's not a thing anymore.
Okay, but even the idea, the fact that you attempted that, kind of shows at least you saw the need for discipline.
Yeah, and like I'm not following that specific schedule anymore.
No. I know. I was like, damn, when do you take a pee break, dude?
But I do generally follow like a regular schedule throughout like every week. I won't go through it right now because I don't want to.
No, for sure. It's fairly regimented though, you'd say?
Yes, yeah. Like it's flexible, but I have like if I don't have any commitments with people, like there are set things that I do with my day.
Right, and that's habit building, which is
yeah.
Luca Lampriello was his final point.
Luca.
I loved how lots of the talks
Luca.
like Lydia's 9 lessons, Luca's 10, Garrett Popkins 4. We got to talk about Garrett. I thought it was Gareth. Sorry, great speaker. Totally worth getting up for that. But like build habits. How do you build a habit? I think having a regimented schedule. Like I think COVID's thrown a lot of people off right now because work schedules aren't like totally normal when you're at home. But if I was teaching my 9-to-5 job, I'm off at 3:20. Okay, I got a bit of time before I got to coach basketball practice. Maybe that's half hour. I can like knock out some German flashcards or something. Like when you just have your normal work life, how do you work? How do you fill those times in? Like as a language learner, like when I'm at the Walmart lineup, I'm never bored. Like or the doctor's office, I take out my phone, go through some Duolingo, go through some Memrise.
I thought you were gonna say when I'm in line to check out at the register, I practice my cereal box French.
Oh, totally. Why
So
not?
that's a Canada joke, folks.
Yes, everything here. Here, let's do an example. Tu je ferai, my Timmy's mug. So
Everything is in English and
whatever
French.
product you buy in
Everything.
Canada, you have no excuse not to be practicing your French at least, or your English if you're
That's right.
coming from the other office. But
And that's why we like to say that we speak cereal box French.
Yeah,
right?
so every Canadian has the advantage of being able to speak like French that would appear on some kind of a product that you would have in your house.
Yes. We will tell you ingredients and slogans galore. Toujours frais.
We could cook you every meal in French.
Mais oui. Exactement.
For example, here my Tropicana thing. Lots of pulp.
Oui.
Beaucoup de pulpe.
Beaucoup de pulpe. Beaucoup de pulpe.
Beaucoup de pulpe.
Comment dit-on jus en français? C'est le sucre? Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Je sais pas. À vrai dire, je sais pas.
Jus.
Here we got Dawn.
Oh yeah.
Jus.
All right, explain this, Cody. Remember, we got audio listeners.
So we got lemon essence scent, parfum d'essence de citron.
Wait, what is this again? What were you reading?
Dawn.
The soap.
Dish soap, yeah.
You know, if you mix Dawn and vinegar, it's like a deadly. You can like take the stain out of anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Dawn
that's an acid-based reaction for you, bud.
Ooh.
Very.
Marcus the scientist.
When we were watching that neuroscience talk today, like Marcus is all over this.
Oh yeah, that's my
like,
shit.
come on. Like
That's
I was just taking the layman's point. Like I'm like, all right, get some sleep. That helps. Exercise. Yep. Pretty sure. And then but to see like your synapse zoom in, I'm like, no man.
Oh, that's so true, folks. So the thing about sleeping is that it's very important. So we're talking about distributing your hours during the day. So sleeping is very important because it's been scientifically proven that when you sleep, you're actually stimulating synaptic connections. So you're creating more brain connections, basically, which makes, I don't know if people can relate to this, but if you study something at night and then you wake up in the morning, you know it, like automatically. You go to bed and you're like, oh, I don't know this. I'm going to fail my test tomorrow. But then you wake up and you're like, whoa, I remember everything.
Sleep is, yes. Yeah. Sleep is paramount.
Yes.
I'm noticing this right now in my Korean war preparation. Me and Cody's Korean battle. Like it's like, okay, if I get some good night's sleep, like that vocab will be clicking, right? Like it'll be. Like,
and same
like
thing when you wake up in the morning.
recent.
So me, I always do the most demanding thing, the most cognitively demanding thing in the morning when I wake up, because I know that's when my brain is the most fresh.
Yes. Fresh. Yes, absolutely. So, but overall, like that neuroscience, because I've always related, like recently with triathlons, doing lots of running, biking, swimming, like post workout, doing language things, like your body is just so, it's gotten that energy out, and like now you can just really focus. And I find it's been great for language learning. I can sit down and I find reading.
You guys want to hear a killer routine that I've discovered? And this has like really helped me with my Korean learning. And like you just said, like how it just gets everything out and just puts you in the zone. So, the routine I've been doing lately, I think I'm going to stick with this as long as I can, because this just makes you feel like a god. So I get up in the morning and then I go exercise, whether it be like cardio or, well, there's no gym right now, so like just body weight exercises, or I'll do like martial arts workouts or something like that. And then I go and then I have a cold shower.
Cold showers, man. Yes.
Freezing cold shower. And like you need to breathe like you can't just go in and like just think like, oh, this is gonna be great. Like it sucks, and you need to be able to you need to be able to breathe properly. So slow, deep, controlled breaths. And if you manage to learn how to do that, like the benefits from cold showers are endless. And then after my shower, I do about 15 minutes of meditation. And then I go downstairs and I make breakfast. And then after breakfast, I clean up the dishes, brush my teeth, whatever. And then I'm ready for Korean. And I find after that, like I'm just in the zone. And then I can just go for like 2 to 3 hours
the
straight,
zone.
just like hardcore study.
Absolutely. And
yeah,
I really like, two things. A, that's building habits. And then B, like Marcus, you saw Lucas Lampietro talked about mindfulness in even like focusing on what you're pronunciating, because this was all about how you're pronunciating.
Guys, that's something I want to talk about. I want to get into that.
Yeah, because I was thinking the starting point, like even learning this Korean right now, it's like, okay, like even close my eyes, don't just brush through it, like, all right, pass through the flashcard, blah blah blah, like focusing more on that qualitative element of the language learning process instead of just quantitative, like volume, like flashcards galore. Like, so crazy. But yeah, mindfulness.
I think that is super important. Details. That's what separates the men from the boys. Details.
That's detalles.
Detalles. So pronunciation. I think pronunciation is very important, and that's
big
kind
topic. Big topic this weekend. Yeah.
Big topic. So it's kind of controversial, right? Because you have a lot of people saying, "Oh, be proud of your accent. Don't change, yada yada yada. Don't you whatever," right?
Yeah.
That's very common. You hear a lot of people saying that. So you have a lot of people that don't really work on their pronunciation and their speaking mechanics at all. And they kind of neglect that. And I think that's a mistake, personally. Because when I speak Spanish, for example, I put a lot of emphasis. I try really hard to learn the proper pronunciation. I think that is something that I appreciate heavily with learning Spanish. And the cool thing about
really hard to be sound like a Colombian.
Not just Colombian, man. Like right now I'm into Argentina, el acento argentino.
Isha.
Like that's what's so cool about Spanish, because you have all these countries and they have their own variants of Spanish, their own dialects, their own pronunciation, and it's just fascinating. So what I said before, languages, to me, it's all about connecting with people. It's not just like, can you write an essay? I personally don't really care about that. I write too much in English as it is. No, it's about connecting with people. So when I meet someone from Argentina, I want to be able to pull out that Argentinian accent, man. Like that'd be so cool for me. I'd love doing all these different accents, man. Like cubano, el acento cubano, por ejemplo.
Oh yeah, no.
And Cody, you're laughing right now, but this is so true.
No, it's big, and I think Luca gave some great environmental points. What do I mean by that? I mean, I was noticing this a bit when I was doing a bit of like 15-minute dabbles earlier this year. Like he said, okay, how do I get into the linguistic zone? I like the word he used, linguistic mood. I really like that. Like even just listening to picking a random language, Turkish. You just go on Apple, Turkish music, pop essentials, whatever. You don't understand a thing. You just put that on and you're just hearing like some Turkish sounds, get in that zone. It's like tuning a guitar, but you're tuning Turkish to your brain.
Oh, I like that.
That's so cool.
Maybe you're listening to some Argentina, like there's some great Argentine rock bands. Sorry, folks. La música ligera, clásico. That's an Argentinian. Whoever sings that one. But yeah, man, just listening to I don't know. You listen to that Barca, or you watch that Barca documentary.
Barcelona.
Oh yeah, but you're hearing Messi, right? Does Messi speak with
yeah, he's Argentina. He's from Argentina,
right?
He's
so
from Argentina.
Maybe you go on YouTube and you're like Messi entrevista, and you just like listen
I find
to
it fascinating.
Absolutely. So you get into that linguistic mood. Like just tune your environment. I really like that because that's super easy. You just
this brings us back. This brings us back to a point that I think Lydia made in her presentation. So she emphasized that learning languages is not a game of invention. You're not trying to invent something. You're trying to imitate.
Well, she also talked about decoding
and imitation.
That's the way she put it. And that really resonated with me. I like the idea of like decoding the language, because that's essentially, that's what it feels like when you're learning it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you're Sherlock Holmes. to a certain extent.
For sure, but that includes the accent. To me, that includes the accent.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And actually, one thing about just accents and pronunciation, one thing that's really helped me just with pronunciation whenever I'm learning language is the idea of like thinking of yourself as an actor, and like you're taking on this new role.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
You're totally a fako. You're faking it. You fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You're imitating someone. You're imitating an accent. You're imitating a lifestyle. You're imitating a nationality.
And this brings us to the idea of like, I want to ask you guys about this. Like, when you speak a different language, you almost feel like a different person, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
100%, man.
Personalities, languages. Like, they've talked about this in lots of these talks. Like, absolutely. And I don't see how you can't. Totally. Like, even when we're at the meetup and we're talking in French, and I go over to the Spanish table, like there's a different persona I feel that I'm giving off that I'm also getting, like even from you guys when you're in different languages.
For sure.
You're not the same person I'm talking to, man. Like in a way, yeah. Like it's weird. It's like we're polyglots meant to be like semi-actors too.
I love the Spanish version of myself. Let me tell you guys, I love it.
Yeah,
it's my favorite version of myself. For all you folks that don't know Spanish Marcus, he's awesome.
cool guy.
He's definitely a character.
He's a character.
Yeah, it's funny, like just thinking of yourself, because like I would say, like for example, like when I speak Chinese, like I'm much more direct than I am in English. Like right. I've said stuff in Chinese that was like very, very direct, and I just like would not say to a person.
Und auf Deutsch?
And in German, oh man, I love the German accent is like so much fun to imitate. I just honestly, if I had to pardon?
Yeah, you just get into it, right?
Yeah, like I would have to say, but judging by like speaking alone, like which language is the most fun for me, like I love German. It's just so much fun to speak.
Yeah, German's fun.
Yeah, and I noticed like even a teacher confession here, I teach Spanish and French. I'm a little more animated in Spanish, which is, I'm teaching French again next year. Big goal this summer is to get just as animated in my French. But it's different, right? Because it's a different persona. It's not just the language, it's like the culture as well.
Yeah, and with French, you have to be careful because I'm gonna like well, I mean, you guys were there. Remember when we were at that meetup? And I was in a while, I'm not going through this anymore, but there was a phase I was going through with French where I was like, whenever I was speaking, I just sounded like a huge, like, kind of douchebag.
We had a couple awkward moments there, folks. Not a big deal.
Yeah. Like I would speak up and be like, oh, je parle français.
I'm still a little bit like that because I think it's fun.
Yeah, but we need to like not do that because remember, like we were at that meetup and we were doing that at the Spanish meetup for some reason, and that woman from Quebec was there, and she got really mad at us. So we're like,
I don't know if you want to bring that up during the podcast, Cody.
Yeah, dude. We love Quebec. I'm wearing an Expos hat.
We love Quebec.
J'aime Quebec. J'aime Montréal. Langfest.
Le Québécois.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Langfest, Polyglot Conference going online too, boys, this year. So that's cool.
Everything's going to be online.
But speaking of just that personality, is like part of when I'm teaching Spanish, the kids in the class I let them choose a Spanish name. And then this semester also they got to choose a Spanish last name as well, right? Because like there's like very Hernandez and Gutierrez. Like you can really get into the character with that. But shout out, I really enjoyed his talk this weekend too. Nacho Caballero.
Oh, I missed that.
No
that
polyglot.
Name.
No polyglot, past, present, or future will have as awesome a name.
That's the
I
best
just think
name.
of even with my students, like Nacho is super popular, but nobody picked the last name Caballero, and was like, it's like Nacho, yeah, man. Like his talk was really cool too. Like I do enjoy lots of the cultural aspects of these talks too. Like his was between Spain and Mexican. It was just about beer names, which I found like super fascinating. Like there was like 20 different ways to order a drink in both of those. Like there's more Mexican names for beer than like Mexican brands of beer.
I love Mexicans. I love Mexico.
Oh man, it was great. I thought it was a great talk. Like it was just like this little, like that's a nice thing with these gatherings. Like, does Portuguese kind of sound like Russian? Well, let's go check that out. Let's hear that talk. It's like anything under the sun with languages. It's like people ponder things, right? Like, why is that? And that's the thing about Portuguese. People talk about it does sound like Russian, sort of. Why is that? So, I caught a bit of the end of that one. Like, kind of working on the old Portuguese listening comp. But,
so one of my favorite presentations was actually one of the latter ones, or the later ones. The Mexican girl who spoke in all those different languages.
Oh
who had the Pimsleur method. When she was this lady from Mexico that spoke fluent French, German, and Italian as well. And
Spanish,
she was
obviously.
And Spanish, obviously. And she was demonstrating her teaching methodology.
Yeah.
And her teaching methodology was basically just going through the same phrases in different languages.
Oh yeah.
Is that safe to say?
Oh, totes. Like, because I think she's doing lots of great techniques that teachers with that comprehensive input, just consistent dialogue. And I think how she was showing that just between, I think she showed all four just to like really show how it can be done. And then there are the props that she had, like emphasizing, like the props added an extra element. Like that was a big thing I was noticing. Like that's actually because
the prompts were great. The prompts were great.
The prop, like she had an actual suitcase. She had like that's extra reinforcement, right? That's like a visual reinforcement. Like maleta, you're hearing maleta, you're seeing a suitcase. Like it's just like that's a huge thing in a language classroom. Because she wasn't like being like, oh, maleta, and putting it in a vocab list. She was using it in like an active way. So yeah, no.
And one of the things I really liked about it was that she was teaching it from a French point of view. So if you're an English speaker that knows, let's say, Spanish, like myself, or French, learning an additional language based on that other language. So let's say I learn French based on Spanish. That's also a great method because you're reinforcing Spanish while learning French.
Huge. Yes.
And that also helps so you're not translating, because you don't want to be translating in your brain. You don't want to just be translating words. You want to have the words pop into your brain randomly, right?
That's automatic.
Or automatically, not randomly. That would be really bad.
No.
Automatically.
Yeah. Cody, have you done that with some of your, like, because I don't even know the order you learned your languages. Did you ever do that with learning German from French, or?
You know, I've never been so hot on it.
Okay.
But I'm starting to warm up to it.
Yeah, like I find it is a way to practice. Like I think there's a good site, Mondly, my buddy Josh uses, where you're like, I speak French, I'm learning German, and you can get your materials that way. Like I think there's a few sites like that, but yeah, talking about like that reinforcement element.
Yeah, but I think my biggest gripe was that like almost all of the best language learning resources like are from English.
True. There's a lot.
Yeah, but okay, so a thing that people do with Duolingo is that, for example, they do Spanish to French, right? So they learn French from Spanish, but then they go the other way as well. Then they learn Spanish from French.
Going the other way.
So that's a great example of that. So I did that actually when I learned Spanish. I was playing around with Duolingo for a little bit, and I did not finish the whole Duolingo course because that takes forever.
It does.
But I did. I went back and forth. So I learned English from Spanish, and I learned Spanish from English. You see how you can flip it?
Oh, dude! And then also with Spanish Duolingo, if there's a few courses exclusive to Spanish. Like for example, there's no English to Catalan, but there's Spanish to Catalan. So
on Duolingo,
you can hit it. Yeah, just go to your tab, click I speak Spanish, and then the Catalan course will pop up. Also, if you're into indigenous languages, Latin America, Guarani or Jurapuri, I forget how you pronounce it in the actual language, but that's also an exclusive course to Spanish Duolingo. So it's just like you just expand your horizons even more sometimes if you're interested in dabbling or actually learning it.
Wait, do you guys want to talk about dabbling versus focusing?
Let's do it.
I'm going to throw it over to you, bud.
Dabbling. Let's talk about dabbling.
So, yeah, I've just never been into dabbling. Like, I don't really care if I can say hello in 150 different languages. that just, to me, that just like really doesn't matter. So I know, Marcus, you're gonna say that this is my perfectionism, but I would disagree with that, because I know I've said before I've got like 10 language goals, and sure, okay, that's a little bit of my OCD kicking in because 10 is a nice number. But just the idea of like having a reasonable amount of languages that I can speak with fluency, that is what I want. Like when I learn a language, like I want to be fluent, and I want to be able to communicate with people and have deep and meaningful connections. I don't want to just screw around like learning how to say like, oh, like how are you, like in
it's not screwing around.
Different languages.
It's not screwing around.
Right. Ian, what's the counter argument for that?
Okay, what's the counter argument? Okay, this weekend on my badge, like, did you guys fill out the online profile? Like,
of course.
What's your native language? Yeah,
of course.
Todos decimos. So I did 6 on mine. Okay, I did English, native, yeah, obviously. Spanish, Nicaragüense. That was pretty awesome. How you choose?
I saw that.
Yeah, you could specify.
De los volcanes, de los campos de café de Nicaragua. So I did that. French, Canadian, cereal box. Ukrainian and German I put as my B-ish ones, B1s. And then Korean, Kodo. I put that. So I put, those are my 6, like on the badge. Okay. But how many languages have I screwed around with? I like to say dabbled, just got interested in, rabbit holed. Like the internet itself is a rabbit hole, the language internet rabbit hole. So I go on a site like Memrise, and dude, one time when I'm just getting super obsessive, I was like, okay, how many actual language courses of anything is online? So like think about the most obscure language. Go on ethnologue.com, try and find the like most obscure language. Do they have any type of language resource available? Do they have some kind of course available? Some kind of audio, like even Circassian, which I've learned about since last summer. I've started like noticing Circassian resources popping up here and there. Okay, so what I like to do is like I just like to like click it, add it to the bookmarks. Like I just like stockpiling language resources because that's what I do. Like I'm finding I'm just as much interested about these languages, like talking about them. What families are they and how are they related to other languages? What's their history? Like I'm an international relations major, so it's part of like my scope in that too, like little minorities within minorities of minorities, like all that. Okay, so that's just seeing the grand scope of the linguistic realities out there of the 7,000 languages currently on Earth. And then, man, dabbling, screwing around, like for me, it's like, all right, I'm gonna go, what am I curious about today? Malagasy in Madagascar. Okay, I'm gonna do 20 minutes today, just on it. Ooh, that's weird. Okay, like that's how that green sounds. Hearing that, ooh, like interesting. Would I ever put Malagasy on my Polyglot Gathering card? No, absolutely not. But the fact that I've like kind of like seen it, checked it out, been like, all right, like 20 million speakers, like how come this language doesn't get as much love as some other language that has 20 million speakers as well? And like that's part of my international, like I really like, I'm not so much like into the politics stuff nowadays, but like the cultures around the world and just seeing, okay, how they interact. Like a big thing of why Arabic, maybe I'll never learn Arabic, but why everyone's like, oh, like Swahili's got Arabic words, Turkish has Arabic, Persian's got Arabic. And oh, there was a great talk. Sorry, everybody, I should have the program up in front of me about.
I have the program. I have the program right here.
Okay, it was Brian. Oh, it was an early one, but I was still pretty awake. It talked about like globalization, early globalization, and how even when you think about like the Silk Road back in the day, you weren't just trading goods and spices. you were trading vocabulary with these words, right?
Oh, what was that?
It was.
Do you remember
It was
or like
yesterday
something?
morning. Yesterday morning before the nap. I think it was before, just after the nap. It was two. It's a guy named Brian from BC, and I'm forgetting the girl's name.
Oh, okay, I got it. Wait, hold on.
But it's just, I love seeing these connections of how languages, like, what's a couple examples they gave? T.
So that was Brian Lu Soon. Hua.
Right.
Unlocking the hidden meanings of everyday words.
Yes, correct. That was the name. Gracias, Marcus. And so how globalization back in the day connected all these languages. So like the word chai. Right now in Hangul, in Korean, it's chai. Is it in Mandarin, chai?
It's cha.
Cha.
What does that mean? Like,
chai is tea.
Oh, you mean that?
Tea.
Okay, got it.
What is it in Swedish? What is it in Swedish, Marcus? Tea.
Tea.
Yeah. Okay. So a little different.
Tea.
Maybe that's the Saxon part, but what is it in?
Té. In Spanish is té. I think it's té.
Okay, but in a lot of languages it's chai.
Cha. And even in Korean, it's cha.
Cha. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but the root, right? We're talking about the roots.
Right, but in the Romance languages, it's té.
Right. Okay. But and then even how chocolate, like they have those really cool charts. That's the beauty of these talks. You can go up and watch them after. And like, so this is the expansion. So you see these interconnected, like okay, I'm going to do an anti-island example. Like none of these languages are totally on an island in terms of how they've influenced each other and how they've rubbed off on like the historical takeover. Like fascinating in that talk was you kind of forget Sanskrit and Hindi languages. That was a big wave of the first Silk Road trades, and then after like Arabic and Islamic traders that came after, right? So it's like these layers of civilization and all of these traces. You want to talk about decoding Sherlock Holmes. If you're into like history and linguistic mysteries, language is going to lead me on a lifetime journey of like of inquiries and puzzlements and just like trying to figure this stuff out. Because even if I can't speak that language, I want to see the interconnections of them all. I want to see like, okay, Turkish is related through this way. I want to see the paths of it all. And with 7,000 languages on Earth, it's plenty of work. And this is a particular interest that I just happen to have. And that's cool. Like Brian was pretty fascinating because he speaks. Did you catch the end of that talk, Mark? Like he speaks Urdu to...
Oh, yeah.
Like just any connection. So going back to the dabbling part. So that's part of the interest. That might not even be a linguistic polyglot interest. That's more like a cultural historic interest that I just like seeing it. So like, yeah, my memorize tab, I've like Zulu to Aramaic, like everything. I just want to see it.
I can definitely understand. I can sympathize with both of y'all.
Okay.
For example, I think it's super interesting just to go and explore a certain language. Like I've been dabbling in Italian a little bit, just to go in there and look at the similarities between Italian, Spanish, and French, for example, German, even all these
cognate discounts.
Exactly, man. So all these Romance languages are very similar. So if you already know Spanish, French, like I'm certain that if I were to actually try to learn Italian, I'd pick it up within a couple months because it's so similar. It's so similar. Same thing with Portuguese. So I like just dabbling in these languages because it's just interesting to look at the similarities and kind of gauge how easy it would be to pick up.
Gauging.
It's all about gauging.
Size it up, right?
I have yet to find motivation to go and dabble in these obscure languages like Armenian. I don't really have motivation to go dabble in Armenian at the point.
For sure.
But I totally get both your arguments, both your point of views.
I don't see it as a waste of time. If somebody that's not interested
for sure
in that, then it's probably like waste of time. And yes, could I have spent all that time? Because the big thing, I was like, oh my God, if I would have kept my Ukrainian up the last 3 years, like I would be jiving in these chat rooms right now. But I've totally not done that the last 3 years. I've like wandered off, right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't mind that though. that talking about this being a hobby I love, just
So
seeing
that's kind of a
I like
problem.
knowing that I can identify a language. Like if I can't understand a word, still being like, oh, that's Greek.
That's still kind of a problem of being stationary like this and in a place that where you don't speak that language. So let's say you're learning French, for example, you're in Alberta, not the best place to learn French in Canada, probably. And that's
but you got to go dig. You got to be a bit of a hunter then.
Yes, you got to be a little bit of a hunter. But if you really want to learn it, and we've talked about this before on the pod, you got to immerse yourself
bring it up
in that language. But it was interesting because there was a talk here that I don't think you guys attended, that I attended.
Which one?
It was by a guy who lived in Turkey but was from Germany. I don't remember his name right now, but he basically talked about, here it is. His name was Alexander Medjedovic. But he was German, but he lived in Turkey. But he talked about, or the title of his talk was, "Do you speak business? How languages can or can't impact your career?" And I thought that was really interesting because that's something I think about actively.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy was, I don't remember what he did, but he didn't work directly with languages. But he lived in Turkey and he got the job in Turkey without speaking Turkish. But the guy, his boss, basically told him, okay, in order to get this job, you're going to have to learn Turkish. But he was already a polyglot. So he was like, okay, I know how to do this. Not a big deal.
The toolkit.
Yes. So he was able to pick it up fairly quickly.
Uh-huh.
But that's also an interesting thing. So he went into that. So if you're a person that doesn't have language, so it's rare to have languages as your job. So you guys are fairly unique. So I don't have that, right? So what I have to do is to immerse myself in a setting where I can use languages professionally. And I can do that right now in English because I'm in Canada and the universal language of science and engineering is English.
Correct.
But I kind of, I feel like so the big thing about going to Barcelona, so for all the listeners, I'm supposed to go to Barcelona in September, but Pinche Corona might put a stop to that.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, but I think it's going to happen anyway. Might just be delayed.
Yeah.
But so like what I have to do when I organize my life is to try to look for these professional opportunities abroad in order. And I'm not just going to Barcelona to look to to work on my Spanish and my Catalan. I'm going because it's actually really good for me for my profession.
Right.
But it's a byproduct, and it's
byproduct. That's the word.
It's a byproduct, right? And it's an opportunity for me to do both. Both develop myself professionally and develop my linguistic abilities as well.
Like I know you said sciences. You said sciences are in English internationally. Like, could you ever go to Germany, say, and do
100%, for sure. But what he also said is that,
French,
because But what this guy said is that, because a lot of people say, okay, I can't go work over there because I don't know the language, yada yada yada. I have to know the language in order to go to work, in order to go and work in a place. Correct. So he kind of debunked that myth and said that if you actually talk to employers, they're not going to really care about if you speak the local language or not. They're more going to look at your technical skills. Mm-hmm. And they more have the attitude that if you're good enough for this position, you're going to have to, like, if you're technically savvy enough to do this, if you have the right skills, then you're going to be able to pick up the language anyway. So they don't even look for that.
Yeah, and I'll tie that to the because I don't think you stay for the whole thing. I watched the Foreign Diplomat guy.
I watched that too.
Yeah, and what he brought up at the end too is actually
the Dutch guy.
No, was he? No,
Polish? Oh no, the Polish guy, the Polish guy in Tel Aviv, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, and he talked about even like how your top diplomats say don't know the local language. Say like it's more important they have the skill set of negotiating and the experience, right? Like that accrues more credential than say like, yeah, I'm C2 Mandarin, but I don't know like any of the geopolitics of this place. Yeah. But that said though, like they always talked about with him how there's a big shift to public diplomacy, they're calling it now. Like what you consider the modern diplomats, not the same thing as it maybe you see in the movies or like reading about in history. It's a lot about engaging with public organizations, like different companies, and how like it's not like they would ever view him, the top diplomat, knowing Chinese as a deficit. Of course not. It would be like an absolute bonus if they have these language skills on top of their skills that they already have.
Yeah, it's a bonus, exactly.
Right, because then he'll, like, you can read the daily newspaper, you can kind of get a feel for what's happening on the streets, and like the oh man, this connects to another idea that I don't think you guys, Judith Meyer, we gave a talk about political language in different countries. So like, yeah, say you're a diplomat in Greece. She was talking about like Greek terms 5 years ago when there's lots of the like economic euro crisis happening in Greek, and how like certain terms in Greek are like very specific to that language. So if you were a diplomat in Greek, knowing Greek to like tuning in to the society that you're working in, that awareness is big. So like, okay, like Cody, when you were in China, were there certain concepts or things in the news that came up that you were digesting through your Chinese that you'd never see like in a newspaper or anything out here?
Yeah.
In North America?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like,
it's especially a place like China, because they've got all their own social media, right? Like they don't use any of the Western social media, right? There's like there's no Facebook, WhatsApp, or Twitter, Instagram, anything like that. Like they've got their own versions of all of that. And it's funny because they've got like in China, it's really interesting because they've got like their own internet culture, and they've got their own memes and stuff like that.
Correct.
So it was really interesting to see that.
Right, because that's going to make a big part of your daily interactions on.
Yeah, and when you're immersed in that, like, and especially if you speak the language, like you can connect to the people on a different level that other people wouldn't be able to. Right,
which is whether you're doing this for social reasons or a job, connecting with people.
It's all about that, all about those connections, right?
Yeah, man.
And that's also, so one of the presenters brought this up as well. So if you meet someone, you're not going to hand over, if you're trying to connect with someone, you're not going to go and hand over an essay that you wrote in that language, right? Which is like, okay, writing skills are important or whatever, but if you meet someone and you're trying to connect, you got to know how to verbally communicate, man. You got to hone your verbal communication skills. Well, that's what I'm all about this, guys. I'm all about the oral component of a lot of languages. I kind of prioritize it. I know it's important to have a balance between the written and the verbal and the oral components, but I tend to favor the latter when it comes to, because I do so much reading and writing in English as it is. And I'm a big fan of like the reason why I love languages is to connect with people. And when you're traveling, especially, and, you know, going to the meetups or whatever, that's what I really enjoy. So I tend to favor oral communication when it comes to foreign languages like this.
Well, can we get into Gareth's talk? Because that's where again? He talked about the 4 skills. Reading,
let's get into that.
Writing, listening, and reading. So I look forward to Gareth's talks. He's probably right up there with Richard every year, even when I'm waiting for these Polyglot Gathering.
British guy, right?
British guy, yeah. I met him in Bratislava. Awesome guy. I really like how he broke down those skills. And so I'd like you guys' feedback on this. Is like, he talked about speaking, right? Like speaking's the sexy skill in language learning, right? Like you said, how many YouTube polyglots put up their Spanish essays on YouTube, and
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Check out my escritura,
yeah, me.
No, man, it's like you're flowing. That's like talking about those videos that people made back in the day that still make. Like, I'm like dibbly dabbling in these 8 languages here, and yeah, for sure. So he like that skill. So Marcus, you're talking about like socially connecting with people. So that
yes, that's what I'm all about, guys.
Right. So that would be a skill that, and it's like top priority for you, right? It's like that we need to do that. And then to me, like, so his getting your feedback on your pronunciation, which is what Luca, his talk was all about pronunciation, right? And the intonations of how you're speaking. So that's big. But then what do you guys like the interconnect? What I like what Gareth's talk is because he did like the matrix, like for example, your receptive ones, so listening and reading, those are your receptive skills. They're happening, and your productive ones are writing and speaking, like the
output versus input, or input
correct,
versus output.
Yeah, and I just like how we put receptive and productive. So just getting that feedback, but then how you can use the other skills to enhance. Like, what do you guys think? He called reading, it was like the turbocharge skill. Like, and I think that's true, especially like say you get to like a B1-ish level when you can start reading newspapers in Spanish, French, German. Like, I find vocab acquisition goes through the roof once you have a working reading knowledge in a language. So what's your guys' experience?
Yeah, for me, that's like reading for me is crucial when I'm learning language, because I think I mentioned this before, but I'm a very visual based learner.
Yeah.
So if somebody tells me a new word, just verbally, it's in one ear of the other. But if I see that written word, like that sticks right in my brain. So whenever, and even I even do this when I'm like watching YouTube or Netflix, like I always have the subtitles on. And I don't know how people might feel about that, but for me personally, it works so much better, because like if I also have kind of bad hearing too, so if I don't hear,
it's like an aid though, right?
Pardon?
It's like an aid. Like when I watch Casa de Papel in Spanish, I put Spanish subtitles on. It's like, my Spanish listening, I don't know like the jerga.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see it written.
When you're watching something like that, it helps. For me personally, it helps so much to have the subtitles on, because you're right. Like you don't know everything they're saying, and like because you're naturally like you have a handicap, and it's okay to accept that. Like if you need to put the subtitles on like that, it helps a lot. So.
Absolutely.
I am a big fan of. So you guys didn't tend to talk about the reading listening method. I think.
I caught the end of it.
It was good.
I didn't get because I didn't see the first part. I didn't know what it was all about.
Well, essentially, when it comes down to it, like when you combine reading with listening, like it's just they just build on each other, right? So like if you don't catch something when you're listening, like you'll catch it when you're reading, and vice versa, and they just compound on each other essentially.
So what was the idea? You had like your text and your audio are the same language, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've done a bit of like, all right, I'll bring it up one more time. Don Quixote, like, cause it's all free domain now, cause it's like 100 some years old, 400, whatever. Like it's on YouTube, right? So you can like click YouTube, play audiobook, and then I can read along with Don Quixote. So is that what he's talking about then?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. But so you're listening and reading. Yeah.
The one thing I didn't really like about that talk, though, to be completely honest, was like, and he said it like it wasn't a big deal if he couldn't do this, but he was saying like the reading listening method, especially with an audiobook, it works the best if you do like 8 to 12 hour sessions. And I was sitting there, I was like, who has that sort of time? Like, but he was saying that's ideal. But if you can do 3 to 4 hours, that's the minimum. He was saying, like, he's saying anything less than 3 hours is not worth it to do. So I don't know. I think like if you put in like anything over an hour, even doing that, like you'll still find benefits from that. Like, and plus, like, just realistically, like, who's got more than?
I'm just curious.
4 hours to just.
I want to ask you guys.
Right?
I'm just curious now. What's your longest session you've ever had with a language on a given day? Like, have you ever done that? Like, Cody, I know you go to the meetups and like 4 hours, 8 hours straight. I'm talking about like one language.
Their
longest workout usually maybe even just solitary workout?
I mean, I can talk to that. When I was in Colombia, for example, it was 24/7.
No, okay. I'm talking about being
Self-study?
alone. I'm talking about self-study. Your
Oh,
longest
not that
self-study.
long. Not that long.
I think when I was in high school, there was most likely a day on the weekend where I was just going at it all day, because like in high school I would do things like that. It's been like a theme throughout my life too. I get like in these obsessive phases about things, and I guess maybe languages is one of them that I'm in right now. But when I was in high school, it was I could just do things for an entire day. So I probably spent an entire day just like studying German.
Oh yeah, like I remember right before I went to Bratislava 3 years ago, I was like, all right, I'm doing Slovak. Like I got the Ukrainian. That's gonna be my anchor language to get Slovak. I remember just like it didn't work, but I tried. I just a couple of weekends, like the entire Saturday is probably like 8 hours, just like flashcards and reading and videos in Slovak. Like, I'm gonna speak Slovak when I set foot in Bratislava. Like it doesn't happen, but I like the fact that, because I don't know, even 8 hours of exercise, I'd be like, no, mom, it's like it's not happening. But I'll sit, like do 2 hours of flashcards, 2 hours of reading, watch some YouTube. Like I think maybe polyglots maybe haven't, because I agree, 8 to 10 hours with life, man. Like with Korean right now, it's like, yeah, it's ideal, but no, like I need a brain break. Like, come on, guys.
You need that sleep, man.
Sleep.
Synaptic connections.
Yeah, exactly.
I connect them synapses.
Yeah. So, okay, the talks definitely. Let's go back to the. I want to talk to you guys about the atmosphere of the gathering, and it wasn't real life. It was still. Yeah. But to me, I don't know, man. I love the frenzy of it, like the Telegram app. There's messages coming at you, and all of a sudden, like the different groups had messages going. The chat rooms were filling. We got our own Zooms going. Talking to people, like it was great. I shared our podcast, and you get like Mark's on the Telegram, you did too. Like I love the collaboration. Like even in the Ukrainian chat room, I got like 3 new Ukrainian podcast recommendations I had never heard of.
Yeah.
And it was just gracias the chat room, connecting with people. So that atmosphere, yes, it was not real life, but I still think the organizers did a heck of a job, like reinventing it as much as possible online.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. I'd agree with you 100%. Yeah, the organizers did a fantastic job. That being said, though, it's all I'm gonna say is that I'm definitely looking forward to doing it in real life.
For sure.
Because it's not that's absolutely not the fault of the organizer. Like, obviously, there's nothing they could do, and they did like you said, they did a fantastic job of trying to recreate the experience, but just online is not an adequate replacement for real life face-to-face interaction with people.
Yeah.
No, but it's still amazing that we're able to do this.
Oh, the fact that we're able to do this is incredible. Yeah. So like it's something to definitely be grateful for.
Yeah. And I just wanted to try to get as much of an authentic experience as possible by getting up in the morning like that. I thought it was really fun. And I thought it was really fun how we actually interacted in the chat rooms and had our own conversations and Zoom conferences and all that.
Chat room.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And I mean, like, we had a couple Europeans over as well. In the beginning, I think, was that Friday night or Friday afternoon? Those folks from Britain.
Shout out to our friend that we met, Krzysztof, El Polaco. Polish guy who sent us some Polish recommendations, music recommendations, because this is supposed to be happening in Poland. So the music for this pod coming from Poland. That was cool. The Libov, I think her name was, in Russia.
Oh, the Russian girl.
Yeah, man.
And
Spanish, people love Spanish.
She had a fantastic Spanish Castellano acento Castellano, Spanish accent, and she never went to Spain ever. She'd never been to Spain.
That's what I mean, right? Like you can recreate
That's impressive,
these
folks.
environments now.
That's impressive.
Like these virtual environments. So
That's very impressive.
Yeah, man, you're right. It's not the real thing, but damn, I still had a blast. Like
I thought it was fun
to recapture it. So just I don't even know. I'd recommend if you didn't, I don't know if this is an option still, say you didn't sign up for it, like you didn't participate this weekend, but if you still register like post Polyglot Gathering, that maybe you can get access to those. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be a good question to ask the organizers.
But the presentations are gonna come up on YouTube anyway.
Eventually, they come out, but it's really cool. They're all available right now.
Yeah.
So, like, I know what I'm doing the next month because I think they're available on that site till the end of June. So
yeah,
all these ones you guys touched on, that's gonna be my evening entertainment. So this notebook's still gonna get filled. So
I'm glad, man.
It's cool.
No,
man.
It was a blast.
I was stoked when you guys were like, "Yeah, we're coming." Like,
no, I just got really excited about it. I think I woke up. I had one of those impulses again. I just woke up one morning. I was like, "Hey, I gotta participate in that Poly Gathering conference."
Yeah. There's no way we this is such a great opportunity. We would have been ridiculous to miss out on this, right?
Yeah.
Super fun. So
I thought it was fun, and I can't wait till we get to do it in real life.
Wherever.
Super excited for that.
So I think the Polyglot conference and Langfest is gonna be online too. So round 2 of this in October could be fun, but
yeah,
we'll be back face to face, cara a cara, real life, be it Poland or Mexico or wherever. Like there's lots of these events popping up. Like Edinburgh just had one. It's new. Like that's different. So man, that's not who's to say we might get some going Cowtown, Calgary.
Cowtown, baby.
Like
Cowtown.
a regional one. Like I don't know, let's get inspired. I get inspired.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is getting all that inspiration from all the people there that speak.
It's great.
So many languages fluently. It's
absolutely
quite amazing.
Tokipona, what's it called? Tokipona?
Tokipona, yeah.
I have no idea even what that is, but
what is that?
It's a language.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently even easier than Esperanto.
Oh.
So
I don't know, man. I'm a romance kind of guy.
You're a romantic kind of guy.
I'm a romantic guy.
Italiano.
Un
po' Italiano. Cool, guys. Well, any final thoughts? Any send-offs for Marcus? You're off to Toronto?
I'm off to Toronto tomorrow. And that, by the way, that was a funny thing. So one of the presentations talked about pronunciation and pronouncing the T, the letter T in English, and how there's 5-6 different pronunciations of that letter. And one of the different distinctive pronunciations were the Toronto T. The Toronto T. Wow. So the city of Toronto, you could either choose to include the T or not, the second T. A lot of people say Toronto. But a lot of people actually say, a lot of locals say Toronto as well. Toronto.
Like people in Toronto.
In Toronto, say Toronto.
What did I just say?
I said Toronto. Look, I say Toronto. So generally in English, you use the little T. The little T is the second T in a word, and you kind of dampen it. You don't really pronounce it. So you have like the tennis T, like the tennis. Right, you're kind of tennis. You're kind of spitting it out. You're spitting out the T, right? But
let's say if you're saying like if you have the letter T in the middle of a word like metal, you don't really you pronounce it differently.
I listen to metal music.
You kind of tap the T off of the word or whatever. I listen to metal.
Yeah, no one says I listen to metal music.
Yeah, you don't say that. And that's a big thing that a lot of people that speak English as their second language, they pronounce all T's the same. They use the tennis T all the time. Gotcha. So for example, Italians, they always say but. That was like one of the examples. That was like one of the examples that the presenter brought up. So but
another one just to add quickly is like sometimes you'll drop sometimes we'll drop vowels when they come before R. Like for example, our city, Calgary. Like if you're from Calgary, you say Calgary. You don't say Calgary or Calgary.
No.
Calgary.
Push it together.
Calgary. Yeah. Anyway, there's little things, little details. I'm all about the details, guys. I've made it evident before. I'm all about it. So yeah, I'm going to Toronto tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
So I'll see you guys in a week, and then when we get back, we'll have another episode of the pod, and we'll have some more fun things going on and
Korean things.
So the Korean War is coming up. So
stay tuned for that.
You ready, Ian?
What do we got? Oh, it's still May. It's still May for a couple more hours, and then once June hits here, I'll be like, "Oh, it's on. It's on.
Game time.
Game time. Game face."
All right, folks.
All right. Everyone, Polyglot Gathering. Everyone that hasn't been to it, come aboard.
We love you.
Love you.
We'll see you soon.
Les amo. Ciao.
Ciao.